Introducing our new medicine cat. Hi, I'm Fidget Flake.
Fidget Flake?
Yes?
That is so cute.
Oh?
No, seriously, it's cute, and so is Flipkit, and Shadowkit, and Ambermoon, and Bouncefire. There is nothing wrong with any of these names. Warrior Cats isn't such serious business that a silly name is ruining it. I've been over this before in Warrior Cats Things That Annoy Me, or whatever the video was called in the past. But with all these funny names popping up, I'm surrounded by a wave of comments about bad cat names and Twig Branch and bad writing yet again. What is it, Ocelot? You're kind of getting in the way. Okay. Okay, well, keep your comments to yourself. I'm gonna keep... What? Okay. And don't get me wrong, Warrior Cats is not perfect, but the least of our troubles with the quality of these books is how strange these names are. Sure, Bouncefire sounds weird and it doesn't seem realistic, but if you're worried about this story's realism, consider the fact that we have 50 cats all living together who barely ever gossip unless it's about who was born a house cat. And we have maybe like 3 instances of actual romance drama in the whole 40-plus book series. I find the strange names to be charming, and it makes the characters who have them stand out more amongst a crowd of something pelt and another thing whiskers. I mean, sure, I initially found Twig Branch to be an elaborate joke by extreme prankster and world-class genius Kate Carey, but I was wrong. I was completely wrong. Which means she's an even more extreme prankster than I originally thought. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to accept it. Twig Branch is her silly name, and will be until she eventually becomes leader of ThunderClan. And maybe somebody who doesn't read these books will look in every so often and not understand, but you know and I know how these names fit in. We even got an explanation on why she was named Twig Branch when most names go unexplained completely. And you can dislike these names all you want, but there's no real argument for them not belonging in the series or ruining it.
But it goes against the rules.
And I'm going to stand here right now and tell you that the rules don't apply, have never been mentioned in universe, and clearly are not taught to leaders or deputies by anyone. In fact, even if it's a coincidence, the leaders seem to have their own naming styles. For example, Leafstar seems to name cats after other cats, kind of like Legacy naming Harry Potter naming. She named some of her kits after other people. For example, she had Harry Kit, which was named after Soul's original name. And she tends to give them suffixes that relate to other people. For example, Bouncefire is named after Firestar, or Violet Shine is named after Puddleshine. And she's a leader who does that a lot more than other leaders do. The only rule that we've been told directly by an author is that we're not allowed to use the word moon in a name. Actually, not exactly. Vicky tells us that she had decided early on not to use moon in names, immediately before telling us exactly how Bluestar's mother got to be called Moonflower, clearly showing that they went back on that rule. Not to mention, since then we've had Harvey Moon, which I suppose can be explained away by SkyClan's weird name thing, but we also had Amber Moon, who is from ThunderClan and was named by Bramblestar. The authors clearly haven't considered this a rule since, well, for as long as we've known it's a rule, which was nearly 10 years ago, by the way. The authors have never mentioned a taboo on any other words, not elements of the clan's names, not anything. Obviously, we're never going to have a Kit Kit, a Pawpaw, or a Star, but that's just common sense. That's something that the cats would know just by growing up.
But these names don't fit in line with traditional naming.
Traditional naming isn't and never was real. It's fanfiction. Traditional naming is a concept that I first saw appear in reference not to crazy SkyClan names, or Berry Nose, or Millie, or Daisy keeping their kitty pet names, but instead as a response to Huck Frost. Huck Frost, despite how many times you have heard it, is a very, very silly name. I'd argue that Huck Frost is a sillier name than Twig Branch, because at least you know what Twig Branch is going for. Huck Frost is... The hawk is cold, the hawk is frosting over, the hawk has been sitting in snow, I don't know what's going on there. But whatever's going on, it really, really bothered a select few Warrior Cats role players. So they decided to create their own rule set of what Warrior Cats was supposed to be, or what it was intended to be, or what it should have been. Probably just specifically to make me, at 14, not have any fun at all. Let me clarify again that this is not the rules that the books go by, and never was the rules that the books go by. This is fanfiction, and it always has been. Traditional naming is the concept that warrior cats' names not only have a strict system, but also have some sort of special, completely unspoken meaning behind them. Usually, and I say usually because this is a fan concept, and it fluctuates. So usually the rules go like this. 1. They consider only the first arc to be quote-unquote traditional as far as names go. Note, this usually ignores One Whisker, Running Wind, and a handful of other cats that the fanfiction author has cherry-picked. 2. The kits can only be named after their appearances. Usually. Again, this fluctuates. 3. The suffix either have to have a specific meaning or are also limited to appearances or accomplishments. And 4, optionally, the author will limit the suffixes and prefixes to only words that were used in the first series. In fact, occasionally that's all traditional naming implies without any of the other stuff. Ideas such as we can't use wind, shadow, thunder, or river come from traditional naming fan resources and roleplays, not from the books themselves. Shadowkid is fine, and so is Running Wind. My big problem with traditional naming wasn't really that it existed, and more so that it was always used to limit other people. I would see it in reviews for my friends' fanfictions, or in the rules for role-playing sites for warrior cats and things like that. And it was always just really obnoxious and pretentious to me. Like, you're going to present this entire rule set of how the warrior cats' names are supposed to work when the books themselves don't follow these rules. And every time I see traditional naming, it's not somebody going, oh, I like this for myself. It's always somebody just attacking somebody else over their silly name or their silly OC or something like that, or their bad fanfiction or whatever. And having more traditional names isn't going to improve the quality of the roleplay or how serious the fanfiction is. It's not going to have any effect whatsoever. In the end, you're all just role-playing feral cats talking to stars in the forest. Fidget Flake doesn't take me any farther out of that than the name Fireheart does.
But they sound dumb.
Well, that's your opinion. In my opinion, the dumbest sounding cat name is and always has been the elders from the first series. The most unrealistic possible thing I can think of is several old people getting named after their wounds and disabilities and being completely okay with it. If you've forgotten the first book, we have cats who were renamed One Eye and Half Tail, and are perfectly okay with it. This probably should have given you a clue as to what kind of road the books were eventually going to head down, actually. And a lot of these names that people are just so disgusted by, such as Flipkit and Thriftkit or Fidget Paw, in my opinion are all really charming names.
Haha, fidget spinner, haha.
Along with being fun to make fun of. And these are all words that cats know. We don't give cats enough credit for their vocabularies. Well, we don't give these cats enough credit for their vocabularies. I'm pretty sure the only word Ocelot knows is so, I will take kits named Flip and Sneeze and Dandelion any day over the 5th Robin Wing or 10 more cats with the prefix Gorse or Willow. These books aren't perfect, but being super strict about cat names is just going to get really, really boring, when sometimes everything is already a little bit boring. And to repeat a point I made just a minute ago, these are cats in the forest, they talk, and they worship the stars, and they live independently and get better from eating, like, old English remedy herbs in the forest. Just reminding you that these are warrior cats, and I don't think anyone's taking them seriously, not even the people writing the books.
Alright, you just said a lot, and I appreciate the support, but I'm gonna go now.